Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Unanchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch. And as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Well, we're excited today because we have the commissioner with us. And every time we have him, he is just a treat to be with. I can't wait to hear what he would like to opine, as he would like to say, in today's get together. But Bob Lobel, you're in charge of the formal introduction. So, Robert Lobel, that is, take it away.
Mike, you're so kind. And, you know, such an ambassador for your university. All I can say that we're so proud to have you.
Stop it.
Okay, I will. Here's Bob Ryan. He's from Trenton, New Jersey. His old friend Jack Craig used to write this great column for the Globe, TV sports column, and I know Jack and Bob are very close. But Ryan, he came from Trenton, New Jersey. I came from Apple Creek, Ohio. Jack Craig didn't think that anybody that didn't live around here or grow up here could have ever had any understanding of what it's like to be in Boston sports. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Ryan, Shaughnessy was on with Lynch, and Shaughnessy from the mean streets of Groton and Lynch from the mean streets of Swampscott tried to tell me that their birthright has given them the opportunity to know Boston sports better than anybody else could possibly know. And here's Bob Ryan from Trenton, New Jersey, and this kid from Apple Creek, Ohio. Somehow we managed to crack the code. Now, was Jack Craig just full of shit, or was Lynch and Shaughnessy just full of shit?
Well, it was an education for me to learn the ins and outs. I mean, I came up here knowing more about I guess the Celtics than any other team here for sure from afar, and I certainly made it my point to go to the Shrine as soon as possible. I was a freshman in '64, and I went to opening night of both the Bruins and Celtics that year, their different respective openings, because I wanted to go to the Boston Garden. It was such a hallowed place. Okay. And my big education of Bob and Mike about going with Boston was covering high school sports and going to these municipalities to cover games. And the way you did it in those days, I called the police stations and said, "Where's the high school field?" And then they tell me how to get there. There was no GPS either, by the way, nothing like that. Anyway, I learned a lot about Boston history, high school rivalries. That was a very important part of my Boston education. I covered a lot of high schools for the first 4 or 5 years while I was concurrently covering the Celtics. It was a different journalistic world, completely different journalistic world. So, I got involved in the tech tourney. I was in that. I keep telling the story about, and Mike, you're part of the story, the famous triple header.
Yeah.
The greatest, maybe the greatest night ever in the tech tourney history. Your guys were in the middle game.
Yeah.
Against Braintree.
Yeah.
And the first game was Case and Swansea. Case and they're from Swansea. Swansea.
Rams?
Stoughton.
So, yeah.
Stoughton. And then the final game was New Bedford in English, Boston English. But you guys won, and young Mike Lynch was on the floor celebrating, as I recall. And anyway, I got immersed in Boston sports, and I like to think that I can hold my own in these conversations.
Yeah, I kind of think you can hold your own. Been called the quintessential sports writer, but I don't, with an encyclopedic mind and a great love of baseball, and there's so many questions I want to ask you, and I don't want to start off with talking about the betting scandal and Rozier. I mean, there's plenty of time we can talk about all that and what's going on with Class A and the latest stuff in Major League Baseball and everything. The Pandora's box has been open. However, going back with your great passion and your great baseball knowledge, and I know you've kept every score from every game you've ever had. And who does that? I mean, who really does that? Only Bob Ryan. But let's go to the World Series this year. Can we do that, Lynch?
Absolutely.
It's been over for a couple of weeks, and you still can't stop talking about it.
Right.
Let's go.
because it's going down in history. It's going to go down in history as you can arguably the greatest ever, but it's certainly in the discussion. And the final game was going to go down in the discussion as the most memorable games ever. And so
Right.
it's nice. It's refreshing for me as a baseball fan that this has happened, that people and the ratings were up and so forth. And it was really heartening and very gratifying for me that baseball had the presence that it had, thanks to that great World Series.
Question, and this brings us me right to the point. And this is a drum I've started the beating that nobody seems to want to listen to. Shaughnessy didn't want to hear about it. I've talked to a few other people that didn't want to hear about it. Tara Sullivan didn't want to hear about it. Just was the Rojas play at the plate. Forever, to me, will be etched in my mind as it has been a singularly celebrated moment, and it singularly could have been a disastrous moment had they overturned that call. Had that call been overturned and the World Series been decided on an overturned call from New York's some studios, I mean, Rocky, how close did we come from the nuclear option?
Okay, I think on the fifth or sixth viewing, you could see it was a proper that he had him by an inch. That it was the right call. It took 5 or 6 viewings to see it for me, but I'm satisfied. I was rooting the other way. Trust me, I was rooting for the Blue Jays, and I wanted that to be the winning run. But I'm comfortable with it. I think the right call was made. I don't think anybody can argue it.
I'm not arguing the call, Bob. I'm not arguing the call.
Oh, okay.
I'm arguing the principle involved, that the mechanism is in place.
Yeah.
The World Series could have been decided by a replay.
Well, it's too bad. That's the world. That's the world we're living in.
You say too bad, but esoterically, it's more than too bad.
Well, it would have had. Well, you wish we had it. We'd like to rewrite history. How about the Galarraga perfect game? That wasn't, because the call was wrong and would have been overturned today easily in 30 seconds. We would have had it. It would have overturned it anyway. No, it would have been unfortunate. We did have a game decided this year, did we not? Early on a pitch count thing, or on a clock violation or something stupid. Early in the year, there was a game decided by.
This was not any game. This was not another game.
No. I'll get there. We already did have a first. We had a game decided by a innovation that did not exist in years past. I'll put it that way. Good. This would have been unfortunate. I mean, but what are you going to do? You're going to say, except in the case of we're deciding the World Series, we'll suspend our rule now because we don't want the World Series decided this way. No, you can't do that. I would have been sad.
No, you would have been apoplectic.
I could have lived with it. That's you set up the mechanism, and therefore you got to live with it. Why? I don't see any other way to look at it.
I guess there's another way to look. Go ahead.
It's baseball.
I mean, it would have been, but that would have been you put the mechanism in play to decide to, and you got to live with it. You can't say, well, except in this case, no, we don't want a World Series. No, it's not. That wouldn't have been fair. That to the Dodgers if the rule were if they let it slide.
One of the smartest plays I've ever seen in the moment was the center fielder who put his hands up that the ball stuck under the fence. That ball was not stuck under the fence.
No, who knew that? I didn't know that was a possibility in Rogers Center. First of all, that was all news to me. That the possibility of a ball being stuck in the fence. The only ground rule even similar to that we know of is Wrigley Field with the ivy. Okay, that's what we've all grown up knowing about that. Apparently it was Kike, the much maligned in Boston, Kike Hernandez, who knew who had the presence of mind to tell Pages, don't touch it. That's amazing. I didn't know that, he was that smart. So, but if he touched it, that would have been a very good thing for the Blue Jays, as it turned out. But got to give Hernandez credit for knowing the rule, knowing the circumstance, and give, I guess, who gets it on the Dodgers staff, whether it was Roberts himself or who was it that prepped
him in, right?
somebody prepped Hernandez, and Hernandez seized the moment. Amazingly prescient. Absolutely.
That was a Belichick moment, I thought. Knowing the
Oh,
rules, knowing every single scenario that could possibly happen on
oh,
every single pitch. That's
yeah,
what.
that's certainly unprecedented in my experience. An important play like that, and I did not have any idea that that was a possibility that a ball could get stuck and under the fence in that ballpark. Or
Well, what happens when a ball gets stuck in the ladder at Fenway Park?
if
No, there is a rule.
it gets stuck in there.
If it
Oh,
gets stuck in, it hasn't happened, but there is a rule.
okay, I know the ball. We had a ball hit it, and in 24, I was there when the ball hit the ladder. But and I love the ladder. I love the idea of the ball hitting the ladder. Okay, Bob. Tell me, what is the rule?
I think it's a
Double?
ground rule triple.
Ground rule triple. Oh, I love that.
I did too. When I heard that, I couldn't believe it.
I want to see that. I want to be there when that happens.
Yeah.
Because I got to get it in the book. You know that.
Oh, no. What other book? What, the Scribe? You got 100, which book? 100 of your books or just the Scribe?
Well, the current one that I'm working on. This is I keep score, as you pointed out, every game. I've been doing that since opening day in '77, and it just seemed like a logical thing for me to do, so I do it. And it turned out to be a book, and now we're working on a sequel to that book, Bill, Chuck, and I. So the score books have been very fruitful.
Bill Chuck is an amazing guy.
He comes up with stuff. I'm telling you, he's an incredible researcher and historian, and we've become very good friends, and throughout this process, and yeah, I'm amazed by stuff he does.
I agree.
Baseball, after it seemed like an interminable period, baseball just got things wrong all the time. Is baseball finally getting things right now?
In terms of
The pitch clock, the replay.
well, the pitch, in that sense, to speed up the game was mandatory, and I love the pitch clock, I absolutely, and I always say these people brought it on themselves. Yeah, they brought it on themselves. The lingering pitchers and the batter stepping out. The Nomar, we go back to the human rain delay himself. With his machinations. Hargrove, was notorious for that regard. In that regard, now the games were ridiculous and they much too long. However, we got to stop. The Ghost Runner, the Manfred Man, is an abomination.
Yeah,
and the beauty of the game. Imagine if we had that in the World Series instead of the extra inning games that we had. Oh my God. No, it's terrible. They got to recognize that it's there weren't how many. Ask yourself now that they've speeded the games up in general. Okay, how many 18-inning games were there? There weren't that many. That many. Most extra inning games end in the 10th inning now. Statistically, I'll be willing to bet you. In the old days, they did. There were more games that ended in the 10th inning than any other extra inning. I bet, when we didn't have the Ghost Runner. But no, it's awful. And it was proven to be awful by the beauty of the games that we did have without it.
All right, I'm going to jump to, since we're talking about baseball, Clase and Ortiz, the two rogue pitchers from the Cleveland Guardians who throw incredibly, use prop bets. I mean, could have one. Are these guys just that stupid to throw away their career? Apparently.
Well, Clase, who's making what he's making and all that, no, of course they are, and it's the whole gambling thing. This is backfire. This is come back to bite them in the what and general. But I was amused by this. Plus Mem shows idea of the fact that things don't change. Do you know that in the 1919 World Series, the tip-off supposedly that the fix was on, so that the gamblers would know, was the White Sox pitcher Eddie Cicotte throwing a bad pitch to start the game.
And not know that.
So 106 years later, they're using the same technique. I like that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So yeah, but Eddie Cicotte, who was on his way to the Hall of Fame, and wound up, of course, getting thrown out of baseball because of his involvement with the 1919 World Series. But that was the tip-off. So I was amused when I read when I saw the tip-off was throwing the ball in the dirt in a wild pitch. I said, nothing's changed in 106 years. I love it.
It's amazing, Ryan, Eddie Seacott, that you knew that you came up with that, because that whole thing, the whole classic, the whole book written about the guy that in charge of the whole thing, the guy
Yeah.
from Boston, but it was all hatched in the Madison Hotel.
Yep. It was, Nick Arnstein, all that, absolutely. So
Rothstein, right? That's right.
Arnstein, right.
Bob, wasn't this inevitable that we're going to have monumental, not just little indiscretions, but monumental blunders with gambling now? Every sport is climbing into bed with gambling.
Yeah.
It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of when, I think, in everybody's mind, correct?
Yes, and right away, we had a tip-off a couple years ago with colleges. We now had 6 more kids thrown out of college
right.
basketball this week. That was always a problem. But the real problem that we are confronted with, which is new to the whole thing. We had the basketball scandals in '46 and '51, and BC was involved, and back in '71 era and the Dr. Tom era with those guys. But it's the prop bet thing. I mean, the prop bets are the evil now. I mean, that's to open up more possibilities for problems than we ever had. Even in the old days, used to be point shaving was one thing, but prop bets, because you don't need any collaboration. I mean, one person takes care of it, and it just it's an evil. I mean, what can I say? I would. Gambling was always the big prohibition. It's like with the Pete Rose thing, and once that they got in bed with gambling, I was always keep Pete Rose out. He knew the rules, etc. And now baseball has forfeited the moral high ground. They don't have it anymore. They can't be high and mighty about gambling because they're part of it.
Well, how about the commissioner of the NBA? And he's the one that really brought DraftKings into the NBA, and really was a champion of legalized gambling's here. Why aren't we using it?
Yeah, Adam.
Can you imagine? That's asking Goldilocks, asking the wolf to come in the door.
The old fox in the hen house thing, and he wrote that famous op-ed piece in New York Times endorsing it, and he's got to live with it now. And I like him in general. I think he's done some good things, but this is, he's stuck with this as a legacy, unfortunately. And but it's funny, the gambling thing. I don't have the gambling gene. I've placed one legal bet in my life, and that was in Vegas. You'll love this one, guys. I was not a gambler, but I'm covering Peter McNeely against Tyson. And I figured, hey, gets in a lucky punch. What the hell, right? So I put like $20 or whatever. I made a bet. And of course, he came out. He won the first 15 seconds. Do you know that? Or maybe 20. And then I think they were raising Tyson's hand at 137, was it?
89 seconds.
But he did win the first 20 seconds, boy. He came flying out of that. He came flying out of that corner.
I
don't have that gene. I don't give a damn about. I don't get a rise out of gambling. I watch games for the purity of the game, and that's it. I don't need any other inducement. In
that night, I was with Paul Lucy, the Celtics TV producer right now. We were out there, and I said, I'm going to bet $50 that the fight goes at least 2 rounds. Doesn't matter one. The fight goes at least 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So when Peter came out with his robe on, he was dancing around, and Tyson took a towel and ripped it over his head, and that was his robe coming into the arena.
Oh yeah.
Paul Lucy, I said, not only is this fight not going 2 rounds, we may be doing the 11 o'clock live shot outside of Las Vegas General Hospital, because that's how dangerous this guy looks, and how certain I am that if you had the fight win the last 1 round, you were going to win. 89 seconds.
Okay, good. I'll remember that number for sure, because I love telling the story.
Vinny Vecchione. Remember Vinny Vecchione? He was a trainer for McNeely. Yeah.
Okay, don't remember that, but
I'm going to do this commercial for Cold Springs RV, and you're part of this. Rocky, at the end, Lynch will ask this very set, whatever question he decides around about your travels in this Cold Springs RV. So be prepared. So off-season pricing is here at Cold Springs RV. It's the best time right now to buy their end-of-season savings. Take advantage of it. Go check out the latest in new pre-owned pop-ups, travel trailers, fifth wheelers, motorhomes. You don't strike me as a camper, Rocky.
No, not quite. No,
No, I can't see you pitching a tent,
no,
kumbaya on an overnight campfire. I don't see that.
you've got that right.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that I got it right. I think you're missing out on a great experience, but I am too. So keep your RV secure all winter long with a storage unit starting at just $100 a month or free winter storage with an RV purchase. Now, protect your RV with winterizing at their Pro RV Service Center. Where's Ware, New Hampshire?
Where is it?
Hampshire. It's north
Where?
of Tingsboro. It's west of Goffstown and St. Anselm's College.
Oh,
The reason I mentioned St. Anselm's College is because Al Grennett went to college, was a coach there, and he was with Johnny Most, and
That's right.
there's a big connection. But St. A's and Goffstown are all together, and so Cold Springs RV is west of that. Okay, Mike?
I get that. Yeah, very good.
Okay. So there. So tell them we sent you. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com, and then Rocky can pick his traveling companion or whatever you have in store for him, Mike.
All right, this is kind of an unusual question, Bob.
Well, it'd be about time.
Um, so we all know, you were just talking about camping outside, and Duke, North Carolina basketball tickets go on sale. People live in tents for a week to get into the game. Texas Tech last week, they were all in Lubbock lining up and down the street. Is there a sporting event, even before you were born, Bob Bryan,
Love this question.
this present day, is there a sporting event that you, at some particular age, would have slept in a tent to get a ticket to that particular event?
Good one.
Well, first of all, we have experience. Well, okay. I did sleep in no, I didn't have to do it. People did sleep in the lobby of Roberts Center to get tickets for the BC St. Joe's basketball game circa 1966. I didn't have to do it because I was a play-by-play broadcaster. I was going to get in for free anyway. Okay, I'm trying to think. It's a very, very good question. As a baseball fan, at the time, although it's been tainted in history, the Bobby Thompson home run in 1951, October 3rd, 1951. And it's funny because that didn't even come close to selling out. It was a day game, of course. It didn't. It surprisingly culminating their great comeback from being 13 and a half games out on August 11th, 51. And I was a Giant fan growing up.
Well, so was my father a Giant fan growing up. Went to Polo Grounds as the first game ever.
No, very good. Yeah.
Whitey Lockman did a home run in the Polo Grounds.
I went to the Polo Grounds, of course, with my father and growing up in the early 50s. And there's that possibility. I'm just trying to think of anything else. I don't know. No, yeah, that's a great question. No, I don't think so. Because I was lucky to go to so many good things, I didn't have to worry about it. But
Think back to like the Alcinda Elvin Hayes game at the Astrodome.
Well, yeah, I remember that night very well. January 2068. Yeah, Saturday night. That was historic for sure, and that would have been good. I'm just trying to think. I was lucky enough to see so many good Final Fours, and including historical ones such as the Villanova Georgetown victory and over Jordan's.
But is there one that you would have camped out in a tent to be at some event?
I know. I'm trying to. I'm just. I'm really trying to think.
How about Muhammad Ali fight? Ali Frazier. How about one of those?
Yeah. Well, I did. No, I covered the first Ali.
Not a Ted Williams moment or Ted Williams game or.
Well, that's another funny story because there were only 10,000 people there on that September 28th, 1960, a dank September afternoon when Ted hit that home run. You wouldn't have to worry about it, but well, we may have had one recently. Ohtani.
Yes.
There you go. If you told me, right, okay, Ohtani, the 3 home runs. Yeah, there. Stop. Hold the phone. We have a winner. That Ohtani game, I think, would have been worth it. Yes, people have the. Yeah, I would have liked to have been present for that. Yes.
Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, very cool.
You know, I don't know how far we're into the show. We have not mentioned our local pigskin football team, not once, which is hard to believe. And then talk
Well,
about
our local pigskin team. Our local pigskin team. Your local pigskin team. Not our local pigskin team. The fact that Harvard's running roughshod since it's a football factory to begin with.
8-0, boys, 8-0.
Yeah, well, I don't know. BC and Kent State are struggling a little bit this year. Okay, so don't be picking on Ryan and me. All right.
And Bob, and ironically, Bob, we're playing a team where you were very close to growing up, the University of Pennsylvania, at the high ball at nightfall, right?
Yep, the Penn Quakers. I went to I once had to put a piece of a goalpost from a Penn game my father got at the Penn Navy game at circa 1953. But I did go to Franklin Field to see a couple times. So yeah, but of course the Penn is the home of my Mecca, where I always said I want to be buried at midcourt at the Palestra, and I mean it. And that would be the greatest tribute you could pay to the young Bobby Ryan, is let him be buried at midcourt at the Palestra. It's by far my favorite arena to ever see a basketball game, was the vintage Palestra.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Where did you get this encyclopedic knowledge of dates and times? And where did you get this love of sports? No, you just don't grow up. You just not. Do you just inherit it, or just you find it a piece of gold? Where do you get this?
I have.
Who are you?
I am Bill Ryan's son, and Bill Ryan's made his life in sports. And I always say, Bob, I do not remember a time growing up, and this is not, it's a little bit of a hyperbole, not much. Don't remember a time we weren't at a game, going to a game, or getting ready to go to a game. Okay, sports are in the blood. But I brought another element to it, which is I was a reader. And I look, I have no other skill. I have no mechanical skill whatsoever. Changing light bulbs is about the epitome of my mechanical skill. So,
well, then you qualify to get into Harvard immediately.
But I have this gift of memory of sports, and I've reread and reread. I mean, I spent my whole life reading, and sports are part of it, and things just stick in my head. I have random things of that nature, fortunately. So if I didn't have this, what would I have done for a living? I have no idea. None possible. I'll ever imagine. So I'm very fortunate to have that capability.
So what about the local 11 here?
I'm enjoying him. I'm enjoying him very much. I love Vrabel. I love Vrabel as a player.
I think he's talking about Harvard.
No.
I'm afraid I haven't watched the Crimson play in person at all, so I can't tell you.
Is that what you're talking about, Mike?
But I'm very happy.
Come on, Mike. Is that what you were talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about the team in Foxborough.
Oh, okay. Well, local 11. How local can you get when you're talking about go from Harvard and
everybody talked about the schedule, and it's very important. It's contributed. But the thing is, they're taking advantage of it. They're not blowing this opportunity. This is, and there's no Colossus in the AFC. We know that. There is no Colossus this year. And, who knows? Seattle may be the best team. The Rams may be, the Rams are the other way. That's the other way. There's no Colossus. So how far can they go? We don't know, but it's working out great. And they got 3 great things going for them. They got a coach, they got a quarterback, and they got a schedule. And they're taking full advantage of that schedule. And they're getting better and better, I think, as time goes on. They made some very significant acquisitions. Obviously, Diggs is working out. Howard Landry's worked out. Williams has worked out. So kudos to the front office. And it's nice. It's after a couple of, these dismal years. And, but I don't think people should be greedy still. People, you don't want to dismiss the great fortune of the first part of the 21st century. I don't want people doing that. But I am enjoying this team. Yes. I hope that Henderson's okay. Is he? What we hear about him? Didn't he exit the game a little bit on Owie on Sunday?
Yes.
But I'm enjoying the season, and obviously, God knows we haven't enjoyed the last couple.
No, very, very similar to the Red Sox. As the season went deeper and deeper, they became a likable team. And
Absolutely.
so I'm in the same category.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, and the Red Sox did get to the playoffs. Okay, but yes, they were entertaining. But a little bit of unfortunately, it kind of started to peter out once Anthony got hurt.
Yeah.
It was never quite the same. That wonderful run in August and all was great. But I think it was September 2nd when Anthony got hurt, and that was a big blow. I can't wait to see him, healthy back next year again. See, finished third in the Rookie of the Year, only playing 71 games.
Got any Ted Williams reminders when you see Roman Anthony?
No, I can't say Ted Williams, no, at all.
I'm just saying reminders. I mean,
No, not really. No, I just see, a wonderful all-around player, but I don't have any Ted Williams. I remember thinking about DiMaggio when I saw Fred Lynn, first of all, back in '75. But and I remember thinking about Lynn when we thought Benintendi might have a chance to be Lynn. That didn't work out. That we know that. But no, the answer is no.
Now, here's a crazy one. I'm going way back in the way back time machine. Our quarterback throws the deep ball with the dexterity, as Mr. King would say, of a Darryl LaMonica. He throws
Oh
the
my goodness.
bomb, and he puts it right. There's only one place that ball can be every single time. If it's an outstretched wide receiver 60 yards downfield, or if it's passed in the corner of the end zone to Stephon Diggs over the shoulder. There's only one place that ball can land, and he has a knack for putting that exactly where it should be almost every time.
Well, that's a very good point, and he's good. We got a keeper, and that we're very blessed to have him. Plus, he can help himself with his legs. He's got to be careful there. Of course, he's learning. He's starting to learn how to slide and when to slide and when to run out of bounds and everything. But no, we've got a keeper. But that's a very good point. He does throw as good a long ball as almost anybody in the league right now, and as far as I know. Now, in this case, I know what I read. I can't verify it, from any personal observation. But when people are putting him in that category, I'll take their word for it. But I'm just thrilled to have him. I'm very pleased with this guy.
I'm going to ask you guys both of you this question. Since Ryan and I are adopted sons of the New England area, and Lynch, of course, is the legitimate son
Yes.
of the New England area, which athlete would you consider to be the most important athlete in the history of Boston? Well, recent history of Boston.
Recent history.
Well, recent.
No, there's no argument. Brady. And I'm a basketball guy. I mean, I had to take Larry Bird off my Boston Rushmore to make room for Brady. That's how how painful that was for me.
I can only imagine.
I had to do it. Brady's got to be on the Boston Rushmore, and Brady, his influence with 4 championships here. Are you kidding me? And what he meant to the thing. I mean, I'm a Larry.
Of course.
He had recent history. Historically, of course, Ted's aura, because baseball mattered more than basketball did during Russell's time. I mean, Russell's the greatest of them all in Boston, but in terms of cultural impact, Ted Williams, for the previous generation, no question. I mean, you don't go through the Jackie Jensen tunnel, you don't go through the Bobby Doerr tunnel, you go through the Ted Williams tunnel, and there's a reason for that transcends baseball. And the 2 world wars gave him an aura, and not 2 world wars, the 2 war services gave him an aura, etc. But in terms of recent, if you're going to go 21st century, you're going to go last 50 years.
I think there's no wrong answer there. I think both are correct.
I mean, we have 3 totally transcendent athletes and the last that we've had in the last post Russell, okay, and then or Bird and Brady. But Brady's impact, I got to give him number 1.
What do you think, Lynchy?
I agree. And to taking somebody off that mountain must have been a pretty tough thing. But you got to put Brady up there. I mean, Larry's Larry, and but Tom Brady, right there, right next to Russell, probably number 2, even more than Ted. I hate to say.
Well, Ted never got a ring. That's the one thing. He never got a ring. And from 1946 to 1950, the Red Sox won more games than anybody in baseball. And we're in pennant races and, lost the World Series in 46, lost the playoff in 48, lost in the last weekend of the season in 49, hit almost 300 as a team in 1950, but they never won. And Ted never won. But all the others can claim that they won. And Russell is the greatest documented winner in North American sports history, period. There, we know that.
And why do I feel we're glossing over Orr? And I know that you're not glossing over Orr.
Oh, no.
But why am I feeling that he's not part of this conversation?
Well, I said he was. I said that.
Well, I know you said he was, but it was kind of in a passing.
Well,
I'm just asking. I'm just.
Look, I bow to nobody in my admiration and I respect for Orr. As you know, I get involved in this argument with my friends at ESPN, Wilbon and Kornheiser. They habitually make the mistake of crowning Gretzky as the greatest player, and I have forced to remind them that Gretzky's the greatest offensive machine, but not the greatest player. Greatest player was Bobby Orr, and if there's anybody today that can challenge him, I cannot. If McDavid, I don't know, does McDavid belong in this discussion? I don't know, because I'm not.
How do you know?
I'm not a hockey guy. I need to hear from a hockey guy to where do they think that McDavid.
It's a little early.
Where does Ovechkin belong? Where does Sidney Crosby belong? Do they belong even in the close to Orr? I can't say. I just know that it ain't Gretzky. I know that. Anyway, I love Orr.
And we all do. Would it be blasphemous to say that you would put Ortiz up there in place of Ted?
Oh my God! Yes, that's my opinion.
I'll
let our guests know. Our guests should answer.
I'm looking at championship, clutch hits, et cetera, et cetera. Now I know that you had to win the American League to get into the World Series. So now you go 500, you can make the playoffs and have a great postseason.
Well,
is it blasphemous to even whisper that, Bob?
Well, I can see someone wanting to make that case for sure. But then you go back to 406 and 344 lifetime and 521 home runs, knowing that he missed 4.5 seasons of his career, including very prime years. He was in 1943, 4, and 5. So the numbers there wouldn't have been any. I mean, we all know that. So I say I'm not going to go there. I'm going to still give Ted the nod, but Poppy certainly, did some great things.
Fair.
Whoever created Mount Rushmore should have created about a half dozen heads instead of just 4.
There's only room for 4. There's no more. You can't build any more there. The rocks are not conducive to that.
Well, I'll tell you what. So Bob Ryan is going to have use of our Lobel Lynch cruiser to drive cross country for 7 days. And why don't you go by? I think is it in Montana? Is that what Mount Rushmore?
No, it's in South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Please, Mike.
Did
you take geography at Harvard?
No, I didn't have.
Okay, it's west of the Mississippi. Keep yourself.
I have seen. We have been to Rushmore. We have been. Yeah, I have been there.
Is there room for more heads?
I can't remember. I doubt it.
I'm just telling you, I've done the research. There's not room for any more heads. Trump tried it. It's not room for him. Just telling you. Most influential
speaking of geography, I think one of the greatest accomplishments happened about a year or 2 ago when Bob Ryan reported from his 50th state. And did you go see the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State University?
That's great. They have number 50 with watching the Jackrabbits take the floor. And I that accomplished a goal which was never a lifelong goal. It just materialized when I got to about state 47 or 8. I thought it might be cool to try to get to all 50. I have seen a sporting event in all 50 states. Funny thing about the story, guys, is only after it was printed I said, oh no, I forgot to mention, I've also seen a sporting event in Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands. I mean, I should have had that in the story too.
Does your late father does he had any appreciation of what his son became?
No, because he died when I was 11. And,
Oh, wow.
and this is, how many times I've thought about what he would have, how he would have loved
Yeah, yeah.
what I did at all. And, but he died when I was 11. So, but I got the GNA from him, this question. He was a very well-known man locally in Trenton and made a real impact at Villanova as well when he worked there as assistant athletic director and promoter. So.
Well, I don't know. I'm sorry to hear that, but you understand the question. I'm sure you've thought about that your whole life.
Yeah. Oh no, I think about it. Oftentimes as I've been doing stuff, and no, there's no question about it. I mean, I lived while he was around. I had some great privileged things. Many trips to Philadelphia to Connie Mack Stadium, or to the Polo Grounds. And not to mention other sporting events. So, yeah, I was raised in that regard very well.
I can't remember I think it was inscribed. You were kneeling on one knee on the sideline when your dad was next to you. Is that right?
When what?
There was a picture in your book, Scribe.
Yeah.
And I think you were in the sidelines kneeling. It might have been at a Lawrenceville game.
Lawrenceville game, yeah.
And was your dad in the picture with you?
No. He was already. He had passed when I was in 7th grade. So
okay.
No, he wasn't that. I was probably the football coach at the time, and that it was a there was a picture there from a Lawrenceville game. Yeah.
Who was the most influential person in your mind in Boston sports? Whether
influential person
in Boston sports, either on the court, off the court,
Oh.
most important person
Wow.
in the history of Boston sports. I have a pretty good idea where you're going to go with this, but I mean there are some options other than.
Well, that's interesting. Obviously, well, this given the Celtics dynasty that they had, Auerbach,
absolutely, let's figure that would be your number one.
He's got to be up there. There was never a combination coach executive that reached that level of success in any other sport. Milt Schmidt was a Hall of Fame player and a coach, and I really don't know how good a coach he was. I don't know. I'm not a hockey guy, but I know what a great player he was. And of course, he was an executive, and if only for that trade that he stole from the Blackhawks alone, did he do a great thing as an executive for the Red Sox, for the Bruins? Stealing Esposito, Hodge, come on, my third guy. Come on.
Esposito, Hodge, and
I'm drawing a senior moment blank. What an important player. Stanfield.
Yeah, we're just talking about because Dupes wrote that great article about Espo being traded away.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So anyway, there's nobody like it. There's somebody football, it doesn't produce a triple threat like that. So Auerbach, would probably be as good an answer as any in that regard. So yeah, we'll stick with that.
How about the people you broke in with at the Boston Globe and the people that were already there in those seats that you eventually took over? Like you, I was an ardent reader from newspapers across the country. I'm biased because I'm from here, but you want to talk about Mount Rushmore, and you needed about a dozen seats on the Boston Globe, Mount Rushmore. Let's call it a dozen. You came in at the opportune time, doing what you were born to be doing.
You're so right. And
opining, as I said in our intro earlier in the show.
When I joined the Globe in '69, it was just really flexing its muscles in a way it had never done historically before. And one reason was we had a phenomenal editor, Tom Winship. And Tom Winship loved writers and writing as much as he loved reporting. And that was important to development of not just, but it was great for Peter Gammons and Peter Gammons and myself. The Globe was a writing mecca, a place for us to flourish doing what we did. that would not have been possible in many other papers. But the paper that we joined, the staff that I joined with Harold Kaiser and Cliff Keen and Ray Fitzgerald, Lee Montville was already there, had just joined. And we had, we had Bob Sales was covering the Celtics. I wound up succeeding him. We had, and then later on, as time went on, we had a point in time, guys, in the 80s, when each of the four people who were the primary writer for the four major sports, Will McDonough in football, Peter Gammons in baseball, Franny Rosa in hockey, and myself in basketball, we each wound up getting in the writers' wings of those four respective halls of fame. I don't think another paper will ever be able to say anything like that. And not to mention the other people that we had, the Leslie Vissers and Mike Maddens and Ian Thompsons and on and on, and so many. So I was lucky to get here. I mean, there weren't many papers that would have nourished, encouraged us and nourished us the way we did. It was a wonderful time.
You mentioned about you did high school. I'm looking at my scrapbook, which my mom, still alive, by the way, kept for me. And there is our first game of the year was against Gloucester. The byline is by Peter Gammons. And then that game, but it shall me not be mentioned, against St. John's Prep, the byline was by Bob Ryan. And like the next day, you're covering the Celtics, and we're all going, my God, Bob Ryan is covering, Dave Collins, but yesterday he covered us. And Peter Gammons is covering Pete Rose.
It was in 1971. I covered the Bay State League the entire fall. So every Saturday I was at a Bay State League game, regardless of whether the Celtics. Now, we weren't fully traveling yet in that year, 71. We were still traveling periodically. So I was able to. I covered high school baseball. And then I covered high school baseball. I picked the all-scholastic team by myself. I was 25 years old in 1970, 26, 1972. I picked the all-scholastic team, and that was a chore. I mean, that was a responsibility. Oh my God, how many phone calls did I make? But I went to a lot of games all over the place. But you made an allusion to the game who shall not be mentioned. I got to tell that story, folks. Swampscott was undefeated for eons and centuries. And
4 years.
Okay, and they send me up to cover the St. John's Prep game, and St. John's beats them. Dana Hughes touchdown, and
For me, in 8th grade, he went to the Catholic school. I went to the public school.
And so Dana Hughes, and I remember, here's the old days. I had to get a pay phone to call the Globe and say, hey, Swampscott just lost. You might want to think about, and it made page one. It wouldn't ordinarily, no high school game would have had any reason to be on page one in the middle of the fall and in those days. But Swampscott losing was such a huge story that we made page one. My story made page one, sports page one, A1. And I mean, that was how important the game it was. Absolutely.
Halloween, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
October 31st. How ironic, huh?
But anyway, I did cover a lot of school sports and basketball. Oh my God, the first few shootouts, I was all over that. I was all over the shootouts, So that's the kind of prepping, that doesn't
Do you
exist.
like watching the NBA anymore?
Oh, I don't enjoy it anywhere near as much because of the hostile takeover of the three. It's distorted the game. It's changed the game.
How about all those gambling ads that lead up to the DraftKings pregame show? Here's the over and under going, and I'm just pointing out what I on television. The over and under gambling ads.
Oh yeah.
Here's how we pick the games.
I know that I try to let it. I don't focus on it. I know it's there. Of course I know it's there, and I hate it. And I hate it. I hate what it's doing to the game. So no, things aren't good. Things aren't good in that regard. And of course, we don't even get to college and what's happening to the upheaval in college sports. That's a whole other topic for you need a week of shows for that. But no, but the NBA, it's still the best basketball in the world. Anybody that doesn't understand that doesn't understand anything. But I follow the Celtics. I cover, we have our own podcasts. I stay on top of the Celtics. But is it as much fun as it once was? No, sorry, it just isn't. And I wouldn't mind. I've said this on several occasions. I wouldn't mind going back to January 1st, 1980 until January 31st, 1989 in a professional sense and reliving the whole thing, good and bad. But I'll do that over. That was the golden era of the NBA for writers. I'm telling you, ask anybody. And for watching, for competition, that was the best era of the NBA.
You know, and I thought about you last night when I watched the great piece the Chronicle put together on the
Oh yeah,
Garden. I said, who's Fanny has been in the seat for more events than Bob Ryan, the perfect guy to talk about it. But now that every time we pick up Twitter or TikTok, all we read about is Larry Bird, the big trash talker. Did this escape you when you were sitting courtside covering him all those years?
I'm glad. It's so interesting you say that. I didn't even associate him that way at all. And I lived with him, covered him, wrote a book with him, and he had a couple of things, but I don't remember this being a big staple, and nor do I remember it being the big mentioned it that much at the time. I'm sorry, no, there was a. So I think this is part myth. I really do.
Really, because everybody has their own story, but the central theme is the biggest trash talk of all time.
I know.
What's
Well,
Larry Bird?
well, somehow I missed it. And
Yeah.
I have my own favorite one. I told about the night I can tell you in February 11, 1981, we're in LA and they lost an overtime game the night before in Seattle, and Gerald Henderson got hurt, and he was important to the team at that time. And we don't land in LA till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon due to a fog situation in Seattle, and they were going to play the Lakers that night. Oh, great, except that Magic was hurt. And he's sitting there before the game, and Larry goes up to him and says, "Irvin, sit back and enjoy the show." And Larry went out and one of his handful of greatest games, 36 points, 21 rebounds, 6 assists, and the key to it that I'll never forget, stopping at least 2, if not 3 fast breaks, 3-on-1, all by himself, 3-on-1, screwing up 3 different fast breaks, was one of his greatest all-around games. But that's the story. And then there's the Frank Layden story. He did one by Frank Layden when he was trashing the Jazz. Frank, don't you have anybody who can guard me? Stuff like. But I don't have too many stories. No.
How about the left-handed game in Portland?
That's another myth. It wasn't the whole game. It was 11 and 10, 21 field goals. But that's a lot. Oh yeah, he was. But it wasn't the whole game. People get a little carried away. But my favorite left-hand story with him is against the Pistons in the playoffs, when out of nowhere he banks in a left from about 13 feet, left-hander, just because, just for the F of it, just because I had come to the conclusion that he had gotten so good at certain times that the game. He needed to make the game more interesting for himself. He was getting a little bored out there, being just routinely good. He wanted to make it more challenging, and the older he got, the more he liked to use that left hand for the fun of it.
Other than the great writers you worked with at the Boston Globe, who was your favorite sports writer?
The guy, you don't want to pick, obviously, a guy I want people to remember. He was a wonderful guy. And he was a wonderful wordsmith. And I said he'd kill you with a velvet stiletto. Ray Fitzgerald,
Yeah.
Late Ray Fitzgerald was a tremendous writer and a wonderful guy. But there were so many people. If I had anything close to a mentor in this, it was Bud Collins, the great Bud Collins. And there's nobody like him around today, that's for sure. And nobody dresses like him around today either, that's for sure.
How about outside the globe, Bob? How about outside the globe?
Oh, well, my 2 idols growing up, Jim Murray in the LA Times, and above all, if you ask me at age 20, what do you want to do? I said, I would like to be the next Frank DeFord at Sports Illustrated. Frank DeFord is my ultimate writing idol at the time, no question. And lo and behold, on my very first month on the job, who comes to do a story on the Celtics but Frank DeFord. So I got to meet him early on in my career, and we stayed friendly with him to the end, till he passed away a couple of years ago. So, and he did a blurb for my book, which I was honored, and that's the answer. But I love Jim Murray at LA Times, and he was syndicated, so I could read him in the Philadelphia Inquirer. But that was when I was, so those are the two towering names for me.
Was Jim legally blind? Jim Murray?
He had an eyesight problem. I don't know that he was ever legally blind.
Right.
But I know he's losing his sight. Yeah.
What's your favorite sports movie?
My favorite sports movie is probably Hoosiers, and I would say Hoosiers. What else? I'm trying to think. The Natural, but that was good, if you will. But
Field of Dreams.
yeah, Field of Dreams. But no, that I was angry though because they had Joe Jackson biting right-handed. Come on, so that lost me there. That was no good. No, can't have that.
Why
She was still batting right-handed.
whenever people talk about great sports movies, why is Brian's song not mentioned in the top 5?
Well, that's a good question. Well, it was a TV show, first of all, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, TV movie. Yeah, major
No,
TV.
TV movie. No, it could be, but I love Hoosiers, and
8 Men Out.
sorry.
8 Men Out.
I never saw the movie. I never saw it.
My God, Bob.
How about that? No, I
Okay.
got a lot of confessions on things that such as I've never seen Caddyshack all the way through, and
That's a sin.
no, so no, but or Slapshot, and that's when I still want to see that Slapshot.
8 Men Out.
8 Men Out. Okay, all right. I'm aware of the story, but no. So anyway, there you go.
You did a great job.
Oh, Major League.
Okay.
Major League. That's a lot of
Days
fun.
run like days, right?
That's a lot of fun, Major League. I like that.
Good.
A lot of guys in that movie, except for Charlie Sheen, had very little. Like Wesley Snipes had no athletic baseball practice at all. So his thing was his speed. I don't know if he had any, but hit like Mays, run like Hayes, and Tom Berenger. I know that Charlie Sheen played a little bit of baseball in high school, but you could tell that he was the thrower, because in most movies, the star of the show, you can't fake throwing a baseball. You either know how to throw it or you don't know how to throw it.
Yeah. Well, of course, Redford played baseball.
He did. Yeah, he did.
He was a legitimate baseball player. So that made it easy there, I'm sure. Yeah.
But watching Hoosier Ragazzi play Lou Gehrig was painful to watch sometimes, throwing and swinging.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Babe Ruth league, and the Babe Ruth story with William Bendix, which was they showed us. We used to have movies in grade school. Go to parochial school, it was a little different going on. We had movies every once in a while, and I remember we had the Babe Ruth story with William Bendix, and that was kind of pretty hokey. That's for sure.
Hey, Rocky, this was a great show. I'm really glad we had a chance to get you on. No matter, I don't know what the streaming thing, what that's all about, or what the browsers are all about, but I'm really glad we got you on.
Well, thank you for accommodating me. It's great to be with you guys. You know that I loved it. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
The three of us, along with Shaughnessy, are part of a project called Front Row, and we all, with Lynchy and Ryan and Shaughnessy and yours truly, have a chance to share some of the behind-the-scenes stories. But we'll be getting into more of that as we go along. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to come out great. I've seen a lot of little clips.
All right.
You'll be happy.
Good.
All right, Rocky. Thanks so much. You're the best.
Guys.
I love you.
Yeah.
And you opined very well, I thought, today.
Thank you.
All right, Bob Ryan has been our guest, everyone. Make sure that you follow us on unanchoredboston.com.
Hold on a second. There's George Gray.
Oh, George Gray.
Thank you. Good thing you're here, Bob, because
I just got my oil change there last Thursday.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're here, Bob, to remind us of who our sponsors are.
Yeah.
Continue the
Oh,
show.
boy. Hey, if you're thinking about a new car, go with Lobel and Lynch.
He was just kidding, George. It was just a test.
Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know that George Gray will treat you right. They're family-owned and operated dealership. You can see one of his three sons anytime you walk in there. Say hi to him. Tell him that Lobel, Lynchy, and Rocky Ryan sent you. We trust them. You can trust as well. Go see the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him, at 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. George Gray's Lexington Toyota. How could I be almost so stupid to not mention that right there?
I mean, just it's okay. You're fine. You relax. You're not that stupid. Okay, you went to Harvard. You're fine. Everything's okay.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Make sure you follow us at unanchoredboston.com. And we're also on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, click the button, and even the three of us can do that. That's how easy it is. We'll see you next time, everybody. So
I
long.
love you guys. I love both of you.
Bye-bye.